However, is anyone who supports the Glass Steagall restoration bill, or even leans into the Glass Steagall direction, aware that at the center of the Glass Steagall breakout from empire stands the credit society principle, the reality principle? If the Glass Steagall restoration is focused on merely blocking the stealing of society's wealth, it will likely fail, being then backwards oriented. In the real world, financial values must reflect the value of physical production, which creates the wealth of society. If the Glass Steagall restoration is to succeed, the focus must be forward-oriented. Humanity must be inspired to claim its crown, the crown of the creator and producer of all real wealth that ever was and ever will be. The Glass Steagall focus must be on enabling humanity to unfold its potential. Real wealth is only derived from what is produced. There is absolutely no value in illusions or wealth in fakery. Why then would anyone want to protect what has no value by blocking Glass Steagall? The awareness of the empowering reality principle is lacking in society, with a few exceptions. The breakout from this failure is crucial. Without the reality principle, Glass Steagall will likely remain blocked, and without Glass Steagall, humanity has no chance of meeting the Ice Age challenge that may be closer than most people imagine. Only a few people are aware that the breakout from empire to the credit society principle, which Glass Steagall represents to some degree, involves a total systemic shift. The breakout cannot be a piecemeal change, even with Glass Steagall. The breakout must be total and systemic, because the present crisis is systemic. The imperial system is a comprehensive system that invokes for its looting enforcement not only poverty, starvation, and genocide, but also terror and war, especially war that has reached a scale of horror that is now bringing us to the brink of extinction. In addition, the system of empire is blocking humanity's preparations for surviving the coming Ice Age. This blockage is absolute. The blockage cuts so deep that there isn't even enough money in the imperial system in America to dredge out its silted rivers from the last flooding. The world has become caught up in a dying and collapsing system, and is committing itself to die with it at the point of the most critical challenge before it that the return of the Ice Age is imposing. As vital as Glass Steagall is for curbing the thievery that is collapsing civilization, it is a piecemeal effort. It is not comprehensive enough. It lacks the principle for a fundamental systemic change. It lacks the intention behind its design to build a brand new world on the reality principle of directed credit creation. It is designed to only separate speculative financial thievery from the commercial banking activity. Its design is to merely protect what facilitates and develops society's creative productivity. This means that Glass Steagall is not designed to actually end speculative financial thievery, but to merely soften its impact. Thus, it doesn't go far enough. It is a passive law. It lacks the provision to enable the dynamics of the creative and productive potential of humanity. This may be the reason why the movement to bring Glass Steagall back has so far been failing. It simply doesn't go far enough towards what needs to be accomplished. But what kind of productivity are we looking for? Let me illustrate the dynamics of the natural creativity that is reflected throughout the universe. The apple is of a size that most people are familiar with. Most people are also familiar with the grains of table salt. A typical apple is roughly 1,000 times larger than a grain of table salt. The salt grain is too small to be visible here for comparison. The relationship in size between the two is roughly the same as between an electron and proton, that all the atoms in the universe are made of, which make up everything that we see, our world, and everything else. Now, with this in mind, let's look at the size of an atom in relationship to its parts. The simplest atom, the most abundant in the universe, the hydrogen atom, is typically 100,000 times larger than its parts. This means that the electron, represented by the grain of salt, and the proton, represented by the apple, are dynamically interacting with each other according to the principles of the electric force. It is their dynamic interaction that is supported by a great force, which creates the energetic structure that an atom is, which in our comparison here is 100,000 times larger than the apple and the salt combined. If one extends this comparison, the only thing that comes close to being 100,000 times larger than an apple is Mount Everest, which doesn't quite measure up, but it is the biggest thing we have on the planet. A typical apple is 10 centimeters wide. 100,000 apples add up to 1,000,000 centimeters, or 10 kilometers. That's bigger than Mount Everest. That's the kind of creative gain that the universe is built on. This 100,000-fold gain should also be the standard for human economics. We are still far from it, but it is achievable. This is what the Ice Age challenge is built on. If we were to take up the challenge and build the intercontinental floating bridges that will be needed to build up Africa, we would have to create a new industrial revolution in the high-temperature processing of the salt, of which there sits more on the surface of the earth than we can possibly ever use. The resulting high-temperature industrial revolution would necessarily include automated processes powered by nuclear power, such as by the molten salt thorium reactor. The molten salt thorium reactor is inherently safe, inexpensive to build, and has a larger fuel resource available than we will ever need, and it produces high-temperature process heat for the production of anything we care to produce that can be made of the salt, such as the automated production of floating bridge modules. Basalt is a finely grained stone with a 10 times greater tensile strength than steel, a 3 times greater elasticity modules than steel, is nearly as hard as diamonds, is non-corrosive, and can be extruded into micro-thin fibers in the range of 10 microns for the production of almost anything, including the production of large-scale woven arteries for conveying the outflow of large rivers across the oceans to wherever fresh water is needed, and so on. The industrial infrastructures that are needed to protect the human world from the next ice age will need to be of a type and scale that the automated industrial production of modular housing, in the form of apartment groups or individual houses, becomes a spin-off, produced with the kind of efficiency that society can provide high-quality housing to itself for free, universally, as an investment into itself. The cultural and intellectual development of the human being begins with high-quality living spaces. The human being is the greatest and most valuable asset that any society has. The development of this asset is critical to civilization. The development of this asset begins with the care for the development of quality housing, together with quality food, education, healthcare, and culture. These items are not luxury items, especially housing. Cramped living, slum living, homelessness, and all soul rent slavery disable the human potential and should be regarded as one of the greatest waste that a society can commit. There is no need for society wasting its development potential, since it can fulfill its critical needs, such as for quality housing for one another. Free universal housing is one of the natural spin-offs of a high-power industrial revolution that we need in order to secure civilization against the return of the Ice Age. The automated industrial production of modularized housing is so easily accomplished with high-energy infrastructures that society can provide itself this necessity for free, just as society provides itself highways for free. This isn't done today, because the political platform does not exist, so that the needed industrial infrastructures cannot be created. But this will change as soon as the value of the human being and its creative and productive potential is included in the political and economic equations. This sets the stage for the reality principle in economics. Society functions on a platform of universal care, not universal stealing or universal war. Most infrastructures in the world are platforms of universal care towards greater freedoms in living and advancing the productive and creative power for humanity and the meeting of its specific needs. Civilization exists by the power of human beings, and it exists for developing greater riches in human living. If one were to take the human being out of the world, nothing more than an empty landscape would remain, a wilderness, without a purpose, a universe that stopped its development. Then, as we put the human being back into the landscape, We will see not only bridges spanning the oceans, but we will see floating agriculture extending from them into the tropical regions, where the Ice Age glaciation cannot reach them. We will see floating cities springing up to support the floating agriculture. It is naturally lawful to think in such terms, because we would see a reflection in them of what the 100,000-fold economic gain looks like, which is the standard platform for the universe. If we fail ourselves on this critical front, then the coming Ice Age will largely disable the human society, unless we do this ourselves with war. If we fail ourselves with our small-minded insanities, the Earth will very likely become an empty place that then becomes largely owned by the ice. But we will not fail. Human scientific and technological development has made it possible for the first time in geologic history, for the Ice Age to be snubbed so that it will have no effect on the continuity of life on Earth, and the Earth will never again be an empty place, as it largely had been at the end of the last Ice Age, when the world population was only a few million strong. It might well be that we take the hint that the universe offers, and recognize our 100,000-fold development potential that would serve us well in meeting the Ice Age challenge. It might also be that nothing short of the kind of recognition of the power of our humanity, which the Ice Age challenge will naturally inspire once it is taken seriously, will cause the present society to finally let go of the notions of empire that offer no hope, only death. When the decisive breakout does happen, and the reality principle becomes implemented, as it once was to some degree, in 1933, to end the Great Depression, a whole new world will become possible in our time with universal riches that few have yet dared to even dream of, with food in abundance for all, and with free universal housing to end homelessness, slum dwelling, and rent slavery. Then, without empire on its back weighing it down, society will be free to soar to realize its human potential. It will soar to such heights of achievement that the impending Ice Age glaciation cannot touch it. We will then see the Sahara becoming a garden interspersed with modern industrial centers and high-speed transportation links. We will then see cities springing up with free universal housing, produced in automated industrial processes made of basalt. Then, also, will we see war no longer, nor hunger or poverty. All of this is achievable. We have the potential right now to soar to such heights. We will then see the needed vast wheat fields and orchards and forests springing up afloat on the tropical and subtropical oceans, where our food supply would be protected from the coming cold climate. And we will have those vibrant new cities springing up afloat among the tropical fields, inhabited by a new breed of farmers. And all this huge development will happen in places where nothing exists today. It will be built with materials that are not utilized today, and powered by energy resources that are widely deemed not even to exist. Yes, we will transform the world into a richer place than we now dream of. We will not lay ourselves down to die. And, when we have built our rich new world that the Ice Age cannot touch, we will probably think nothing of it. For by then all the struggles of today will be forgotten, as new frontiers begin to unfold in space, and in the sciences, and in space-based energy systems. Thus, we find ourselves at the crossroads today. Only one path from where we are leads to all of that. Our Ice Age response at the present time is a critical one for a decisive and complete breakout from the imperial system onto the one path that leads towards this rich new world. We need to choose our course wisely, therefore, and honestly, and scientifically, and most of all with love for all humanity. The alternative is unthinkable. Universal looting, war, terror, and destruction are unthinkable in the face of the Ice Age challenge, and will become forgotten. And this may happen soon, because the age-old myth of empire, as an economic system, is already collapsing. Of course, when we get to our new world, where we need to be, and the return of the Ice Age does finally unfold, as it will have no greater impact on us than that of just another curiosity.